I'm WG and let's talk about basic, neutral and unique cards as well as potential priority for every single character in the game. So first off, these decisions between what is a neutral, what is a basic card is easier than you think. So let's look at this example right here. Any card with a white text of your character, right? So you see the first three is considered a basic card. So for example, for Rin it would be first form, third form protection. For Khalib it would be lashing, upward and tire's woe. For Olea it would be attack, attack and heaven's healing. So basic cards are the first three and they also have a white text. Unique is everything from your character. So the blue text, the gold text, the purple text, the everything like that is considered a unique card. The same is true for things created by the character. If your character creates ballistas, if your character creates bullets, if your character creates daggers, all of those things are considered unique cards. Alright? And now neutral cards is everything that comes from the outside in. So that means you have your basic cards, right? These ones are all considered neutral cards, as well as monster cards. So everything you buy from a shop or you get dropped from a monster, everything that's not normally in a character's deck is considered a neutral card. So before we go into every single character, let's look at the basics and the value. Which ones should you actually go for on which character, just so you can also kind of like make your own decisions and know what to invest into before we do every character in a bit more detail. First off, Epiphany bonus should be a no-brainer on every single character. More Epiphanies means more power at the start of a run. Then basic card upgrade is pretty much good on every single character, especially on your main DPS, because it's just a bigger power spike. Even if you get rid of the basic cards later down the line, can also be quite effective on someone like a Mika to increase your healing. So also in comparison, this one is actually quite cheap. And then basic card proficiency is something that should be done on every character regardless, because the interaction of their basic cards with the rest of their kit massively gets strengthened through this one. Neutral cards, for most supports, you really only want gearbacks and rallies. These cards don't deal damage, so they don't need the neutral card proficiency. So for most supports, you can pretty much glance over it. But if you find yourself using cards that deal any amount of damage that you put from the outside in, or especially you end up in a bunch of situations where you put monster cards on, for example, your main DPS, then using these neutral card upgrades can be very good, though it varies a bit by playstyle, but it is mostly used on your main DPS. Unique card upgrades are pretty much a no-brainer for every single character in the game, besides maybe Hugo, because Hugo does most of his damage through the follow-ups, and that is why unique card damage wouldn't boost his damage there. Though, then again, this is again something that's pretty expensive, something that costs you these weekly materials that you probably have a limited supply of, and that is due to you mainly probably farming for these materials right here. But overall, what that means is you kind of just want to get that up as high as possible so that your main DPS does more damage. Now, let's talk about these two nodes. You can already see it. So why did I skip basic card proficiency and didn't level this up, and why do we have this? First off, you obviously only unlock this once you get to player level 50, but I heavily recommend saving your crystals, saving your materials. This is a whole fuck ton of stamina that you need to, or ether that you need to invest to get it, and this one is in very limited to supply due to the weekly boss. So I would highly recommend skipping the basic card talent and saving until you can get the unique stats. And that is because, especially if you get towards the end of a run, you might just, for most characters, just remove the basic attack cards anyway, and also a 10% damage boost is in no way, shape or form comparable to a, for example, for Rin, 15% crit chance boost. So please do make sure to skip out on the basic card proficiency for now and save for the unique stats. The unique stats are, in all cases, besides maybe Meilin, always more powerful. And then next up, the question between crit chance and crit damage is quite simple. You always want to go for crit chance first, because without crit chance, crit damage is useless. So those are the absolute basics. So now let's go rapid fire character by character. The combatant epiphanies as well as basic card epiphanies are a no-brainer, so we won't talk about those. So for Luke, upgrading the basic cards is pretty useful. He's going to use them quite a lot up until you actually get rid of them, and with the bullet tag they stay relevant. Unique cards, very, very important because it boosts the damage of every single one of his cards as well as the bullets he creates. So unique cards is something you should be focusing on. Then the critical proficiency node, and ignore the basic card proficiency up until you can get towards the unique stats, and then you can come back here. The neutral cards are a bit of a, you don't have to do it if you have, yes, potential stones lying around. That's kind of where you want to go for. Alright, now for Khalib, basic card proficiency can be really useful, especially on the 2-cost slash. Boosting the damage of this one can help you in the earlier getting your runs going, or even later, because upward slash is just a very beautiful card. Then the unique card proficiency should go way up due to it, afflicting, right? Or affecting your vulture launches, which is pretty much your main source of damage. Then again, a crit chance obviously higher, so you can do more damage. Here you can skip out on the upward slash due to it only being a minor damage increase. The vulture ejection damage and shield gain, fantastic. And obviously you want to hit that 700 threshold to get the extra damage. And then the extra shield should you make it over 300. So those are kind of like your 2 stat goals. And the stamina increase translates to HP increase or HP increase. It is not that important. You just want 1 node so you can get to that final node. Now Magna, the basic card and shield proficiency can be quite good. You can rely on the shields for quite a while during the fight. You might even think about getting rid of the basic attack in general, but still they all do provide you the counter attacks. The neutral cards, it depends on how many cards you're getting from the outside in and if they have any stats, though it is by far the weakest. The unique cards obviously affects her, but it doesn't affect counters. Unique card proficiency doesn't affect counters, so it doesn't really contribute to most of her damage. Crit priority, obviously if you want to build her more in a damage direction, if not you can ignore it. HP, I would never really focus too much into that. Here is just extra shield gain, which is minor, whereas here you just get attribute damage and then percentage-based attribute damage, which is kind of the stat you have on the goblet, so it's just really gonna help push her in that direction. And honestly, I'm not quite sure, but I would assume it would make sense that the justice attribute damage also affects counters, even though counters are element neutral. Now, Rin, we already briefly talked about it, but basic card damage for the slashes, unique card damage, very important to get those multipliers up for the multi-hitters. Crit chance over crit damage, please make sure you go for the unique stats and do the basic card proficiency later. And next up we then have the combatant epiphanies here for Orlea. So for Orlea, the basic cards can be quite useful, though most of the time you pretty much just get rid of them, so you don't really have to go for it. The unique card damage is going to help with the slimes, so especially the shield gain and healing amounts, so this can be really, really useful in making her work. This one is kind of something you can skip the HP. The attack increase can help in making her more of an offensive powerhouse. This one you should ignore. And the unique stat for 6% crit chance of combatant. That's a big question, right? Is this crit chance for the whole team? It could be. Honestly, it could be, and that would make that even stronger. It remains to be seen. If somebody has an Orlea that high, let us know in the comments. I'll heart you or I even pin you if you can answer that question for us. And let's check out then Mei Lin. So for Mei Lin, basic cards, very important. You do a whole lot of punches. The basic proficiency here can actually be worth it due to you using this many strikes. The unique card damage, especially for the Rising Dragon Spire, can be a whole lot of damage. Crit chance is obviously a no-brainer. And the weak point damage is also pretty damn sweet due to having the ability to just apply the weak point damage quite reliably. So for Veronica, you really want to go for that unique card damage for the ballistas. Basic card damage is pretty ignorable. Neutral card damage, you don't really bring anything much damage-wise from the outside in. Crit damage is obviously kind of a trap. You really want to level up crit chance instead. And here the rapid fire damage, ignore that. This one is where it's at, ballista shot damage. plus 15%. So this is kind of where your eyes should go. Renoa also no-brainer. The basic cards, you kind of probably want to get rid of them most of the time because it's all about the Dirge Bullets, all about the extra attacks, and that's why unique card damage is so important on her, because her bullets are considered uniques, and that is why this is one of the biggest damage boosts. Again, crit chance priority. Ignore this extermination shot because you might just delete it for a full run anyway. This one, Dirge bullet damage, and as well as additional up to 15% Dirge bullet damage. Obviously requires quite good substats to get to that 60% value, but when you're there, big power spike. Hugo is pretty simple. So the main important ones on Hugo are obviously if you want to run him as a carry, the basic cards, but you kind of get rid of those. This one is obviously already on. You kind of skip the crit damage first, you focus on the crit chance, and you want this one, the additional damage, right? This just means extra additional damage, so his follow-up attacks get stronger. Do make sure you ignore the basic card proficiency. Haru basic cards can be quite strong, but all the power is in the unique cards due to the anchor shot. Crit chance is a no-brainer. This one, you don't really want to increase their power, you don't use them that often anyway. And then this one, boom, anchor shot damage, right? No-brainer, that should be the way you go about proficiency. Charon, basic cards actually kind of high because you use his basic cards for his rotation. So Charon is a case of basic cards fully maxed out. Neutral cards, you don't see him that often on Charon. Elimination, Salvation, obviously no-brainer. Unique cards, get that shit higher due to the futilities themselves being considered unique cards. So this one boosts futility damage, crit chance priority over crit damage, and then obviously right here the additional crit damage depending on Charon's attack. So that is kind of it. Then again, this one later down the line, but it's at least more useful than on supports or on characters where you get rid of that quite often. So Nia. So for Nia, the basic card healing can be quite decent, but she is a support, so it's not like you're really forced to do it. The unique card healing, honestly, if you look at her kit, you have one heal here. You can technically, I think, find a heal in here somewhere, if I remember correctly, right here in the middle. But most of the time, the unique card healing on Nia, it really doesn't do much, right? There isn't a whole lot that interacts with it, so you can save your resources there. The HP is also a bit of a skip for now, but the elasticity healing is quite good because that obviously has to do... oh wait, no, elasticity is a basic attack, right? No. Yeah, elasticity should be her manifest ego, right? This one right here, rhythm boost. I swear they need to get these in order, right? I think rhythm boost should mean elasticity. But that's just the devs being silly. But overall, the main focus is going to be either on the unique stats or here. But again, support's lower than DPS is 100% of the time. Selena. So Selena, unique card damage. She mainly interacts with the marks, so she doesn't really need most of this. You could go for unique card damage for some of her... I think, yeah, she barely has... She has one shot. You can transform one of them. But it's not the most important. The most important is mark damage, and that's extra attack damage, which you can't boost through potential. You can do so through gear, though. Then again, crit chance priority and passion attribute damage up to 8%. That is kind of what you're looking for, and this bonus damage just means extra damage. So she's quite light on what you need to go for potential-wise. Now, for our Tressa right here, you obviously want the unique card damage so that her daggers deal more damage. You want the basic card proficiency, honestly, is not that important. Crit chance, obviously, again, always a decent one, though. Keep in mind, crit chance doesn't boost the damage of agony, so most of her damage doesn't benefit from it as much, so you don't have to focus too much on it. And then here, void attribute damage, and if your DOT is greater than 30%, even more, pretty sweet. This basic attack damage, truly not that worth it. Amir. So for Emir's Metalize is not afflicted by unique card damage. So that means her potential here really isn't that important. What can be important though is the metallization damage right here, right? This one is by far the biggest gain. The crit chance can be nice. Most of these proficiencies are less priority. Then right here, unique card damage. This does not affect this damage, right? The extra bullet exhaust damage, it only affects flashbang, flamethrower, and the like. So it's not as high on the list. You can kind of skip out on most of them, unless you're like really looking for the extra AoE damage. Crit chance, again, priority. Launcher bullet damage, pretty straightforward. And also, if Luke's damage is, critical damage is higher than 240%, yeah, make that shit happen right now, and I don't know. I'll do a flip, right? I do a flip. That's a ridiculous requirement for where we are right now. Now, a barrel, here, Maribel, basic card shielding, bring that up. You're going to make use of her shields at the minimum, if not also the punch. Unique card damage, again, she's more of a counter-focused unit, so unique card damage doesn't do too much, but she does have the ability to gain extra shield through them, so it can be a avenue to be boosted. Then the crit chance if you're looking for damage, and then the defense-based damage, so long as her HP is higher, it is just better than what you're getting here. Though, to be fair, the basic card proficiency does allow her to just get even more shield out of the basics, which could come in clutch. Mika time. So for Mika, unique card healing can be quite potent. Basic card healing is very potent. Neutral cards, you don't really give her healing cards from the outside. This HP increase, kind of irrelevant. And this one is interesting. So ego recovery stat is something that we haven't yet built, or you shouldn't really focus on too much until we actually know if it's relevant, right? We don't even really know the values and how it's calculated, but there might be a time where ego recovery truly becomes one of the best stats for supports. It's just too hard to say at the moment. And yeah, then we obviously, yeah, that's kind of it. The attack proficiency, you don't really need it that much. Defense proficiency would have been fun, but apparently that doesn't exist. Now, unique card damage on barrel is pretty much a no-brainer. Basic card damage is alright. Crit chance over the crit damage. And the exposed weakness damage, honestly, good enough. Like, I think this is opening found what they mean. And yeah, show me someone that has 230% crit damage on barrel. Here again, the launcher and charge launcher, just the basic cards. It honestly is whatever. Now, Cassius. So for Cassius, the standard cards can heal you quite well. The unique cards do very much benefit from these multipliers, unless you're talking about like the Joker, the Surge card. Here on quest completion, gain 1 morale for 1 turn. That is actually quite sweet. The ability to gain 1 fortitude or 1 morale on quest completion. This is actually something you should look out for, because it's just a permanent damage bonus. Or, yeah, permanent damage bonus so long as you complete a quest each turn. This one is actually quite sweet. This white card damage, forget about it. Owen, you have the basic damage, not really, but the unique cards can be quite effective in pushing his damage potential. Crit chance, again, priority. Ignore this one. And 4% attack, defense, and Owen's health is greater than 700, additional 4% to that value. It's base stats, it's more damage, it's more shielding, it does what he does. He's kind of like a mixed fighter, offensive and defensive threat, and that is Owen for you. Now, Array, on the other hand, basic cards healing can come in quite clutch. I do find myself quite a few times actually getting rid of her attack, so you might even say basic attack proficiency isn't that important. The unique cards can be quite nice in giving you more healing through the surge, or more damage through the attacks, but yeah, I don't even think the Predator's Blade damage here is so nice. I feel like Ray doesn't truly need her potential as much, due to her mainly just boosting everybody else, and her not really having the tools to be a true sub DPS that's worthy of it. So this was every single character in the game and what you should focus on. I hope you enjoyed this one, and as always, we see each other in the next one. If you want to, leave a like, comment, sub, whatever, and peace.